Okay, this is a fly that we call the HOTCORE HEX. And HEX flies are really good for steelhead all year long, especially in the fall, and really good in the spring too. And in the winter, these paired with an egg, it's probably our #1 combination for steelhead. So they work all year long. They're nice because they're really big, obviously, and they've got a really large profile. And they allow for the use of these materials that just have a lot of movement, a lot of pulsating movement. They like that motion without movement, where these materials just kind of flutter and undulate and pulsate on their own without any action on the fly. So just makes it look more alive and more convincing. So, but this fly's been great for us with this chartreuse core here. It just is brighter when the water is dirtier, early morning, late evening. It just allows the fish to see it from a farther distance away, and they like that bright hot spot in the middle. So it's been a good fly for us. And if you wanted to tie this same kind of platform in a more natural tone, you can just replace that chartreuse estaz with that crustacean tan color. I don't have any to show you, but it's just like it's like a tan estaz. So, but the chartreuse is good, like I said, when the water's dirty or the light is low, like in the early morning or in the evening. So, so this fly is done with a 1530 size 6, and then the tail is just some of this black barred rabbit strip. But as you can hopefully see, it's kind of cut. We cut a little, like a 3/4 of an inch piece off, and sort of trim the hair so you get kind of a tapered body with the tail. And I do like the black stuff, the black barred, because you get that little color at the very tip, which just looks nice. You can certainly use a sand or a gold colored rabbit strip, but I like the black bar, just looks good. So, and then the wing case here is thin skin in a mottled bustard color. You could use natural turkey tail as well, but the thin skin's nice because it's a little more durable and it doesn't split when you try to pull it forward. And then some of the gills, there's a set of gills here in front of the tail. That's just the bottom portion of a pheasant rump feather. And then the core is obviously just chartreuse estaz. And then the legs are gonna be just the remainder of this feather. I'll show you in a minute, but you just palmer that through. Just gives a little simple set of legs. And then the eyes are just large mono eyes. And then there's a couple of wraps here of laser tan, laser dub, just to fill out the head a little bit. So, so we can go ahead and get started here. Again, this is a 1530 size 6. And then the thread for this one's gonna be a 3/0 uni thread in tan. So you could certainly use brown. You could even probably use black, but tan just seems to match the color of the body the best. So first step I do is put the eyes in just a bit back from the eye of the hook, because we're gonna fill it out with that laser dub later on. So just figure 8 those in. And then move back, we're gonna tie that rabbit strip down right where, if your thread hangs straight down, it should hang right in between your hook point and the barb. So, and then here's our tail. I already cut this, so you can just lay it in on top, and you'll have a little bit of an overhang with that tag end, but you can just cover it with the thread. Just smooth it all out. Okay. And then the gills, this is one of those pheasant rump feathers here, so we're gonna use just one feather for this whole entire fly. So the gills are gonna be the stuff down here. The legs are gonna be this top half. So for the gills, we're gonna tie in 2 sets, 1 on each side. So you're gonna have to kind of peel off real gently some of this fluffy stuff off the stem. Okay, there's 1 set, real small. Just try to get that going on the far side of the hook. And then if there's any of the quill left down there, you can just trim it out. See it? Okay, so there's one gill set. And then we'll go to the other side and do the exact same thing. Doesn't take much here, just a little indication of a gill. And it just adds a little bit of movement back there, which again is kind of the whole reason these hex nymphs work so well, is they just have so much movement on their own, just based on materials that you can use, that makes for a really convincing little fly. So I'm gonna put a little bit more on this side. That one kind of fell apart, so. All right, so that's kind of what we're going for right there. Just a basic, simple set of gills. Super soft feather. It's almost like a natural marabou feather, but it's real short, and it almost has more movement than a marabou feather, I'd say. So it's really good stuff for these bigger nymphs. So kind of the back half here is done. Now we're gonna put in our wing case, which is this thin skin. I already cut this to shape, just a little strip of it. And then one important thing is that this stuff comes on a paper backing, and you do not want to use the paper backing, okay? That's just they just package it that way, but you can peel this off, and it's kind of sticky on this backside. It's a little bit tacky, so it makes it easy to kind of work with. So we'll tie this with the tacky side up. That way when we peel this over and pull it forward, it'll sort of adhere to everything and keep it in place better. So, and you want to kind of lock it down right at the base of the tail. I don't know if you can see that, but it should be right in there somewhere. So that's good to go. Next is going to be our S-Taz. Okay, and then like I said earlier, if you wanted to do the same fly in like a natural tone, just swap this chartreuse out for that crustacean tan color. It works out great. So we're just gonna tie this S-Taz in right on this bump here, and we're gonna wrap this pretty much all the way up to those eyes. So it should take maybe 4 or 5 wraps. Oops, kind of jumped there. 3, 4, 5 wraps. You want to leave yourself a little gap behind those eyes, because we're going to spin that feather through there. So you don't want to wrap these all the way up to the eye, because it will clog everything up. So just leave yourself a little void right there for that feather. So once this S-Taz is down, you can sort of fluff it out, make sure all those fibers are standing on end. And then one helpful thing is you take your scissors and come in on the very top and just flatten this out. So what that's gonna do is help that wing case lay much lower and flatter. This gives it sort of a landing zone. And then I'll do the same thing to the bottom. Because if you look at some of these nymphs, they're real flat. You know, they're not like, it's not a tube so much as it is like they're flat. So you can kind of shape and sculpt it a little bit. It does help. So just trim the bottom and the top, you get that flatter profile. And then lastly, we're gonna put in our legs. So if you see this stem here, I've already ripped all that soft stuff out. That's what we use for the gills. This top portion is gonna be our legs. So you can sort of peel these back and form a little notch right here. See that? So we're gonna tie our thread right in that notch. We're gonna lay it in kind of right on top. Grab that stem nice and gently. Okay, so that's in, and then these tag ends just fold back. No sense in cutting that out. So when you palmer this, it's good to keep this feather oriented, kind of perpendicular to the hook. If it starts spinning, it can be hard to get these fibers to lay down right, but you just have to kind of work it through here, and each turn you kind of have to twist it to make sure it's going through there straight. And I'm sure it's not a huge deal, but these fibers have a little bit of a curve to them, and you want them to be kind of curving back as best you can. So this should only, these stems get so quick, so fast, so thick, so fast that, you know, right here I can't really do another turn because that stem is just so stiff and thick that it's gonna be hard to get any more wraps. So just about 2 or 3 turns of that feather ought to do it. So you can lock it in. 1 wrap behind, 1 in front, another one behind, another one in front. And that should be enough to keep that in place. So stem, you can kill that. So there's kind of our legs, just a simple little hackle. That's all you need. So that's good, and then the last thing we're gonna do is put in some of this tan laser dub, just a very small amount of it, and you can just noodle it right on your thread here. And in all honesty, you could probably just fill it out with your thread because it's damn near the same color, but this stuff has a little bit of UV dubbing mixed in, so it gives it a little bit of a different light color. So, and you won't use as much of your thread, so just do a couple turns in here and fill out that space in between those eyes. So that's all set there. And then lastly, we're gonna move these legs aside, pull this wing case forward, and lock it in. So there it is. And then we're gonna lift this, peel it back, and do a couple turns right on the hook. And then peel this back forward, get another wrap on it, and another wrap on the hook. So that ensures that it's locked in. So now we can whip finish. Two whip finishes is always preferred over one. Okay, and then we're gonna cut this tag out. Okay, and that's it. That's the HOTCORE. And then I always like to use a little bit of this UV stuff right on the wing case. Just a little coating of it. Helps to solidify, gives it a little more, catches some light and makes it look a little more translucent. So flip this upside down so it drips down and kind of makes a dome shape rather than going into that S-staz. So only takes a couple seconds to cure here. Okay, that's it. That's the HOTCORE HEX. We've caught a bunch of fish on this thing, and it kind of looks like a par as well. I mean, I don't know if these fish really take it as a hex or if it sort of mimics a par, but these have been great for us. So yeah, tie some of these up, let us know what you think, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks.